So we'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today is a very special day, that is Ekadashi, and we are reading this very special book, which marks very special for us because this is the Juhu story, I'll Build Your Temple, written by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So first of all, I'd like to take the blessings of all of you and discuss this very wonderful book. So this is the October 1973 to January 1977, Facing the Challenges. Things had quieted down in Juhu, and every night I visited Prabhupada in his quarters, reported on my activities, and received his instructions, the high point of my day. Because in the life of devotees that time, it was very obvious that whenever they used to go, and then they used to stand in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada will ask them what happened, and then they have to give the report. Prabhupada will ask, so what's happening? And then they have to give the report. And Prabhupada was very quick, very attentive in taking the reports like that. I remember once His Grace Shayaspu was giving Bhagavatam class here, and he was telling in his class, because he was, I think, one of the first temple president in Delhi. So, uh, and then Prabhupada was there that time in Vrindavan, and then he used to ask, so what's happening? And he was telling that Prabhupada was so enthusiastic, so eager. He said every after 3 hours he'll call me and say, so what's happening? And he couldn't understand in 3 years what I'll give a report. So, uh, so not like one day or 10 days. Prabhupada was so eager to know what's happening. So here also, he used to go in front of Prabhupada, give the report. Flushed with enthusiasm, one evening, after a day of meeting people in Bombay, I told him, I like preaching very much. And then Prabhupada's reply came, not I like preaching, Prabhupada replied, but preaching is my life. So Prabhupada was uh, making it more deeper than just feeling a liking. We make the preaching as our life and soul. Another evening, after a long day in the city, having as usual traveled the as usual traveled there and back in the crowded trains and to and fro from the train station in a crowded bus, and not having had anything to eat since morning, I staggered up to Prabhupada's room exhausted. Prabhupada looked at me and asked, how are you feeling? Only then did I notice how weak and sick I was. Well, frankly speaking, Srila Prabhupada, I replied, I feel a little tired. He already knew, and he immediately ordered grapes for me. He said that they were very good for strength and energy. Then he insisted that I eat the grapes in his presence. And after a minute or two, he asked if I was feeling stronger. And yes, I was. To work very hard for Krishna for 2 days, he concluded, and then to recuperate for 3 days, that is not a very good proposal. So Prabhupada is telling that we should stretch ourselves, we go beyond our limits, we work very hard, but in a way not to trouble our own body and trouble others, to later on take care of it. So Prabhupada was very concerned about the health of devotees who are working very hard. Another time he encouraged me to dress better. He told me, there is a saying, one who is known as a Brahmana doesn't have to wear a thread. People know you and they also like you, but still you should dress more nicely. So we see that Prabhupada always wanted that uh, we wear dress like a gentleman. We don't wear gaudy, very flashy dress, but then presentable like that. I remember Prabhupada gave that instruction to His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj, because he saw that devotees are very uh, transcendently dealing, in a sense, in terms of taking care of themselves, their clothes, this, that. So then Prabhupada had given him instruction that you should wear clothes properly ironed. So then Maharaj was telling, a few years back, that then he started properly ironing and wearing the clothes. And he said, till date I follow that instruction of Prabhupada. So we see that Prabhupada wanted that we all become a representative of his mission, and nobody should say that these are not gentlemen. They don't know how to speak, how to wear, how to like that. So he wanted all of us to present ourselves very nicely because we are representative of Krishna's mission. Because Prabhupada was very keen how he is presenting himself to the other people. Like, I think Shrutakirti Prabhu tells this, that generally when the flight used to land, and then Prabhupada used to know that outside hundreds of devotees are waiting. So when the announcement used to be there in the air, airplane on top, that now flight is about to land, please fasten your seat belts, sit on your chair wherever you are. Please don't go to washroom or don't. And after hearing that announcement, Prabhupada will get up. He will go to the washroom to wash his face and put tilak and like that. So when Prabhupada used to get up, all the crew, they used to say, "What is this? Sit, sit, sit." But then Prabhupada was very keen. He will go, wash his face, put tilak, and be there ready for being received by devotees. So, I never knew when he would give me an instruction, and whenever he did, I concentrated with my full attention and tried to commit to memory everything he said. But my method, he could see, wasn't the most reliable. And then comes the Prabhupada's very nice instruction. He says, to remember, he emphasized, means to remember to write it down. He added, you should always carry a pen and paper. And then told me something else that he wanted me to remember. So that is also one good method of uh, remembering. So Prabhupada says, remember means to remember to write. Anything when we are hearing from superiors and when we want to remember it, best method is to write it down. Prabhupada knew my mind. I was always attracted to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And I imagined that one day I would be like them, roaming in the forest of Vrindavan, chanting Krishna, Krishna. But he was also concerned that his property be managed properly. And one evening he spoke to me about it. So Prabhupada was very amazing in making the synthesis, making harmony in everything. So here Prabhupada gave the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. One evening he spoke to me about it. Raghunath Das managed his father's estate just like an expert businessman, he told me. Similarly, you should also manage your father's estate. Then go to Vrindavan and become a Goswami. Who is that father's estate? Prabhupada's estate. Which is that estate? Radharasbihari. So that is the Prabhupada's property. So, so he said that first you take care of that and then you go to the Vrindavan. Another night he explained to me the purpose of Gurukula in Krishna conscious children education. We cannot expect that many of the students will stay in temple, he said. But they should be trained so nicely that no matter what they do later in life, they will never forget Krishna. Then he told how he and his sister used to fly kites and pray to God to make their kites fly higher. They should be trained in such a nice way that no matter what they do in life, they will never forget God. So that was the training Prabhupada received from his father, mother, that in every walk of their life, every act, they were remembering Krishna. Prabhupada tells here that even if they have to play kite, उड़ाते हैं ना वो पतंग. So while playing kite also they used to pray to Krishna that please lift my kite little higher, like that. So that is the uh, Krishna conscious standard Prabhupada wanted, that we teach children. As the weather became more pleasant, in the early evenings, Prabhupada began sitting on his building's roof. Satsarup would bring up Prabhupada's bolster pillow and a mattress so he could sit comfortably and speak with guests. Or if no one came, sit and chant japa as the sky darkened. So all of you know that Prabhupada's famous picture, Prabhupada sitting on the terrace, white gadda, white, round, two pillows. Prabhupada is sitting on top. So that's what Prabhupada started, sitting like that. Prabhupada's apartment was in the middle of the tenant buildings. So he could hear the children playing below. And sometimes he would comment how he wished they could all become devotees. He said that he would like to propose to the tenants that they could all live on our land rent free if only they would become devotees, attend the temple programs, chant Hare Krishna, and follow the regulative principles. That was Prabhupada's desire. That there were many tenants, and he said that they can stay it on Hare Krishna land free, but then the condition is that they become devotees. Not only just for namesake devotees. Jai Shri SriSriRadhaRasbihari ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaunitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So when he says that not for the namesake devotees, they should chant Hare Krishna, attend morning program, temple programs, follow the regulative principles. So, but then we saw that tenants were not taking that as Prabhupada wanted. And that's how they had to be vacated. Sri Bihari Lal Khandelwal was our first supporter in India to pledge 1 lakh rupees for any Prabhupada's projects. One day his secretary phoned and gave us the news that Mr. Khandelwal's mother had passed away. We were requested to come and perform kirtan. So I organized whatever devotees I could, and we went to chant and offer some words of consolation from Bhagavad-gita. Haridas, who did not know about the program, was fanning Prabhupada on the terrace above his apartment that evening. And when at 7 o'clock Prabhupada noticed that there was no sound of kirtan from the temple, he asked him to find the devotees and send them to the temple for arati. Haridas soon returned and told Prabhupada that he had looked everywhere and there were no devotees around. They must have gone to the city to collect and not yet returned, he suggested. This was not my idea, that they should go to the city and collect all day and night, Prabhupada said. Our process is to please Krishna They may go at 9 in the morning and return by 5 in the evening, and then chant in front of the deities. Otherwise, they will become like karmis. We are successful because we try to please Krishna, and Krishna is merciful and reciprocates with us. Otherwise, Mr. Nair was much more powerful than we. He had money, influence, his own daily newspaper, he had contacts, so many politicians and government officers. And who were we? We had no money, no influence, no support, yet we were successful because we were simply trying to please Krishna, following the regulative principles of devotional service by Krishna's grace. So we should come and sing and dance in front of the deities and please them. And by their grace, we will get all. We are not successful by strength. We are successful by Krishna's grace. In the morning, Prabhupada asked whether all the devotees had been the night before. And we explained that Mr. Khandelwal had invited us to perform kirtan after the death of his mother. Well, Prabhupada said, then that's all right. So here we see that Prabhupada wants that our strength in fighting with Maya, making advancement in Krishna consciousness doesn't come from our own. That strength is Krishna's strength. And that Krishna's strength we get by coming in front of the Lord, singing, dancing, and praying for His mercy. And when we do that, then Krishna is merciful to grant the success which is otherwise impossible. So devotees can do many impossible things possible by the grace of Krishna, not by their own. And that's how we see that devotees can go well beyond their limits by the strength of Krishna. Because we understand that I am limited and my success also will be limited to my limited capacity. Whatever my intelligence, whatever my capacities there, skills are there, that much only I can go. But then, when I connect to Krishna's mercy, then there is no limit. I can go ahead. We see also, at the age of 70, Prabhupada went to America without any money, without any support. So by any material calculation, there was no question of any success. But then, because he was connected to Krishna, he got success which was historical. Never in the history of humankind somebody has received that much success as much Prabhupada could do it. So that's what Prabhupada's conviction, that we just come in front of the deities, chant, sing, dance, and then that opportunity we are getting every day. Every morning, early in the morning, 4:30, we are getting chance to please the Lord. Every day morning, 7:15, we get chance to welcome the Lord. Every day in the evening, we get a chance to glorify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and dance for their pleasure. So we should know that there is no other way than that for success. Actually, it may seem very illogical, very simple for our small brain. But then, that's the way it is. Once, here only, when Prabhupada was there in the quarters, one of the businessmen who was very much attracted to Prabhupada's business tactics, because he heard that Prabhupada went with 40 rupees and then he became 40 crores. So then he was very attracted. So he came to meet Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada had a conversation with him, and then he came to the point, because businessman. So he came to the point, he said that, Prabhupada, what is the success? What is the secret of success? You went with 40 rupees and now you have 40 crore rupees. So then Prabhupada looked at his bead bag, shown that this is the secret of success. I just went there, chanted Hare Krishna, and then everything happened. So he said, yeah, I understand that, Swamiji, but what is the secret? So he couldn't understand that that is the secret. He said, this simple thing how we can, वो तो कोई भी कर लेगा. Just by chanting how, then everybody will sit around and chant and then have 40 crores. No, no, no. So he said, what is the actual secret? This is there, like side. Prabhupada again said that chanting Hare Krishna. Couldn't understand. So we can see that sometimes secrets are so simple that people feel that this is too simple. So that's why the sometimes you are wanting to open some laptop or something like that, and then you find the password, and then you are struggling to open that, trying all different passwords, this, that, and then you understand that password is just 000, and then you feel like so. So now the password is very simple, 000, but you don't know. That's the problem. So when we don't know the potency of this method of pleasing Krishna, when we come in front of the deities and chant and dance, then many miracles can happen. So our success is in pleasing Krishna. Whatever we make Krishna pleased, Prabhupada pleased, that degree will be successful. Later in 1974, George Harrison came to Juhu to visit Srila Prabhupada. He was wearing a white kurta and white yogi pant and had a bead bag. I took him around the property and he expressed his appreciation for our work and encouraged us in our efforts. When at 12:30 he heard the conch shell blow for Raj Bhoga arati, we went to the temple shed and George Harrison chose a pair of kartal and sang with other devotees. Puri Das, originally from Scotland, was doing the arati, and when he turned to offer the ghee lamp to the devotees, he saw George. His hand started trembling so much that he thought he might drop the lamp, because he was very shocked to see the celebrity which he had in his life just standing next to him. After the arati, I arranged the plate of Mahaprasad for George and accompanied him to meet Prabhupada in his apartment. Prabhupada greeted him warmly, and I left them together and returned to my office. Prabhupada was behind the desk, Kishore Das later described. With George in front of him, I barely remember what was said, but I remember the feeling of love that went back and forth between them. It was tangible. I didn't really understand what this relationship was. I was young, and there was a big rock star and a pure devotee of Krishna, and there was me somewhere. But I could just feel the feeling of love that went back and forth between Prabhupada and George. After their conversation, George and Prabhupada were served hot prasad and ate side by side on chokis, small low wooden tables. So this is a fact that Prabhupada had a very uh, loving, warm relationship with George Harrison. And as later on also Prabhupada described that he was a very good boy because he had that keen interest in Krishna consciousness. Even before meeting Prabhupada and devotees, he was so enlivened and you know, by the Prabhupada's audio kirtan. And he was telling that that became his uh, kind of a, he used to hear that kirtan many hours together, even before meeting Prabhupada. He was telling this experience to His Grace Sham Sundar Prabhu that once he was on his own small ship crossing the ocean, and he said that almost 5-6 hours he was just playing Prabhupada's simple kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is very magical. The kartal sound, Prabhupada's transcendental sound, devotees singing. So the whole thing is very. So he was so mesmerized. He said that for 5 hours he was hearing that and repeating it all the whole journey. So, uh, and then when he met Prabhupada, he was very eager to serve. And we see that Prabhupada was so grateful for George Harrison's help, which he did. Because this Krishna book had to come, and then there was a shortage of Lakshmi. And then George Harrison kind of made that by his own donation. And that time it was a big donation. And then because of that, then this Krishna book came into publication. So Prabhupada remembered his kind support, his interactions. The last days of Prabhupada, when so many his disciples were coming to meet Prabhupada in Vrindavan, in the end also Prabhupada was remembering George Harrison. At the end, just few days before his departure, Prabhupada personally took out his ring, which he wore whole life, and gave to the devotees, told, give this to George. So even in Vrindavan, just before passing away, Prabhupada was still remembering George for his very kind support. So they had a very nice conversation like that. About 2 hours later, a pudgy 12 years old boy with glasses, the son of our friend and supporter, Pranjivan Ji Walia of the Hare Krishna house, came to my little office at the back of the property. I heard George Harrison is here, he said. Yes, I replied, he is. I want to see him, he started. Well, you can't. He is meeting with Srila Prabhupada. He looked me straight in the eyes, sizing me up and concluding that he wasn't going to get anywhere with me, turned, dashed to the stairs, and bolted down the steps. Oh my God, I thought, he's going to try to find him, and I bounded down the stairs in hot pursuit. I ran across to the next building, and when I reached the second landing in front of Prabhupada's flat, I found the door. The boy stood just inside, and beyond him, George sat cross legged with his back erect like a yogi, a perfect disciple listening attentively at the feet of his master. With the boy's abrupt appearance, Prabhupada and George had ended their meeting, exchanging some final words. George was gracious and appreciative. Prabhupada affectionate and kind. I was upset that the boy had interrupted them, but they took it as a matter of course. Maybe it was time for the meeting to end. Maybe they saw it as Krishna's arrangement. Sham Sundar and I accompanied George back to the temple shed for darshan of the deities. George paid full dandavats, laying completely flat on the floor before them for a long time and then left. The next year, on the morning walk in Sanand, Gujarat, Prabhupada spoke about the meeting. He is very nice boy, George. I have studied. Very good boy. He showed me in Bombay. He came to see me in Bombay last year. He is keeping Jagannath within his bead bag and chanting. So, George was chanting also, few rounds regularly. For Narsimha Chaturdashi, a troupe of devotees led by Jagat Purush organized a drama depicting the appearance of Lord Narsimha to be performed in the temple room. There was an all male cast, including the young and slender Navayogendra, as Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavat, who was quite large as Narsimhadev, and Jagat Purush, who was very thin as Hiranyakashipu. The stage was set before anybody arrived, and Bhagavat, wearing a massive lion headdress, was hidden with a microphone in a paper make pillar that had been built in the corner of the darshan area. He narrated the drama, but because his voice was broadcast by speakers, nobody knew where he was. Prabhupada sat on his Vyasasan and the play went on all around him, with the temple room itself as the stage and everyone else in the audience outside on the grounds. So, where was this drama done? Yeah. Yeah. Not this temple, that previous temple. Hmm. Kaliya. Hiranyakashipu was the most powerful man in the universe. So he was supposed to have a big muscular physique. But the drama opened with him when he was performing his austerities, standing on the tips of the toes and with outstretched hands, with all his ribs showing. And afterward, Jagat Purush put on shoulder pads and lots of wedding. All of you have seen Jagat Purush Prabhu. Last time he came. So, uh, he is very expert in arts, drama, and then he only used to invite many celebrities like Lata Mangeshkar ji and then many others. Then they used to come and then, so he was telling that he was very close to Lata Mangeshkar. Then Lata Mangeshkar time to time used to come to his home and take khichdi prasad when she was quite well known and like that. And then he had a contact with many other uh, kind of big stars like that. Last time he had come, he was telling few of his experiences, that how he used to connect all the Bollywood stars to Krishna consciousness like that. Hiranyakashipu was, okay, that is right. Anirdesh Vapu had been in the pujari room washing pots. But when the person playing Lord Brahma didn't show up, the devotees asked him to fill in. Emergency. All he had to do was respond to Hiranyakashipu when he asked for his boons. They assured him, and they dressed him up with some ornaments and a crown and sent him to the temple room. From his viewpoint on stage, Anirudeshvapu could see how absorbed Prabhupada was in the drama. When he saw me, Anirudeshvapu described, he was astonished and opened his eyes wide, as if he was actually seeing Lord Brahma. His eyes got big, his head tilted back, and he was smiling. He wasn't just seeing some brahmachari dressed up in makeshift costumes. He was seeing Lord Brahma and other divine personalities. At the climax, when Hiranyakashipu called for Prahlad's Lord and pounded the pillar, Bhagavat as Lord Narsimha burst out with a roar, and Prabhupada opened his eyes wide and leaned so far back that his Vyasasan almost toppled over. Decades later, Jagat Purush still remembered the day vividly. Over the years, I had done dozens of dramas with various devotees, but I had never had an experience like this. In one particular school of drama, the drama school, the actor meditate upon their roles and by doing so transform into the characters they were portraying. I wasn't really trying to train the devotees in this way. But even without any conscious attempt by Srila Prabhupada's presence, every devotee in the drama ceased being that devotee and became the part he was playing. It was just unbelievable. Srila Prabhupada was there from the opening scene to the very end. He was showing all the amazing expressions: surprise, concern, happiness, delight. Some of the devotees could barely watch the drama. They were so transfixed watching Srila Prabhupada watch it unfold. Everything was flawless because it was not a drama, it was a pastime. And we see also that Prabhupada had this desire that we play these dramas so that uh, through the cultural aspect we can convert people very easily to take to Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada's desire was to cultural experience to because not many people will be intellectual, not many people will be that much spiritually potent to take it. But then when it is presented culturally, it is very easy for people to take it like that. So, so Prabhupada, along with this temple, we can imagine 50 years back, that was Prabhupada's vision that generally no temple you will find auditorium and restaurant and like that. But then Prabhupada wanted that this temple should be with auditorium, restaurant, guest house. So Prabhupada was not only just giving a open invitation, okay, you can come take darshan. But Prabhupada meant to transform anybody who comes here. It was not just a attempt without any goal. Prabhupada was very keen. Afterwards, the actors, still in their costumes, sat down where they were for Prabhupada's lecture. Today is the appearance day of Lord Narsimadev, he began. I am so pleased that within such a short time, these boys have nicely learned how to play. And especially I have to thank Mr. Hiranyakashipu. Prabhupada said. He says, especially I have to thank Mr. Hiranyakashipu. at which everyone laughed and applauded. Mr. Hiranyakashipu had played his part very nicely. The devotees, especially the actors, were exuberant. As every devotee knows, Jagat Purush recalled, nothing compares with the greeting, the confirmation that Prabhupada is pleased with something that you have done in his service. I was sitting there just 2 feet from his lotus feet, and I felt myself melting into the cracks between the tiles, and I thought, this is the best time for me to leave my body. It is so fulfilling to know that Srila Prabhupada is pleased. And we can see that these devotees were so loyal, so uh, loving to Prabhupada that just for that one expression of Prabhupada, that Prabhupada is pleased, they were ready to lay down their life. So he's thinking that now my life is success, now I can leave my body. That Prabhupada is so pleased with this drama. Almost exactly a year after, the Bombay Municipal Corporation's BMCs attempted a demolition of our temple. So now nursing Dev is another pastime. Our Juhu neighborhood witnessed a horrific repercussion. One person who had joined with Mr. Nair against us was Mr. Krishna Rao Rane, the man who lived in the old mansion across the temple and had been laughing when the BMC had brought blowtorch to cut through the street steel tubes. Rane held influence over many people in the area because he had money and some intelligence. His mansion looked like a classic haunted house, and he conducted nighttime census by candlelight in his garden, with stone seats and an altar, invoking the spirits of people's dead ancestors and claiming to communicate with them. In India, then, one had to be quite wealthy to own a car, but for some of his gatherings, parked car would line the road. So we knew that even affluent people were coming to him. He was playing on their nerve, and he didn't like us because we were spreading knowledge while he was thriving on people's ignorance. So he joined the clique against us. Soon after, Gandiva's mother, Yashoda, had cursed Rane for his laughter during the temple demolition. Just as you are laughing when Krishna's temple is being burnt, one day you will also burn. Rane contracted cancer and was tormented by pain. And then one morning at Mangalarti time, we heard shrieks coming from his house, and we saw an ambulance driver up. Eventually, we got the news that Mr. Rane had covered his body with kerosene and set fire to himself. He had died before the ambulance arrived. Later, I heard that when a black magician sends a ghost to attack another person and the ghost fails in his mission, the ghost returns to attack and torment the one who had sent him. This temple was his forefathers, Dr. Patel explained on the morning walk. They were doing Shraddha-Puja here. He was a great sort of man. His grandfather or somebody had some power to know things here and there, and people used to come and worship him and give him money. Parsis were coming often. Parsis are a very simple community. He committed suicide? A local man, Nara, asked. Yes, Dr. Patel replied. He committed suicide, rightfully. He burned himself by pouring kerosene on his clothes. He was drinking, Nara added, and What was he not doing? Dr. Patel said. He was in all this a big debauchee, mentally, physically, and sensually. In honor of Mr. Rane, the VMC named the open garden between Hare Krishna land and Sheetal apartment Krishna Rao Rani Maidan. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Sri Radharas Bihari ji ki, Sri Sri Gaunitai ki, Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And we are fortunate also today that at 11 o'clock, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj is appearing in the Hare Krishna land. Rivo. So we'll be having his association. And this Karthik, he'll be here. Now I heard that next 3 days he's here and then he'll be going to other places. Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki.